Hello, and welcome back to Architecture Topics. I'm your host, Liam Karen, and today we travel to ancient Rome to talk about one of the most enduring icons in architecture history, the Pantheon. But before we dive into it, like always, a quick reminder. If you enjoy these stories, subscribe, leave a review, a comment, or even better, share it with a friend. You are by far the best marketing this show can get, so I'm counting on you. All right, get ready to travel back in time. We're in the late 1st century BC. Rome is at the height of its power under Emperor Augustus, transforming from a republic into an empire. Temples, forums, and aqueducts are rising everywhere, showcasing Roman ingenuity in concrete, arches, and domes. This was an era of grand public works, where architecture served the gods, the state, and the people. By then, Rome had already pioneered engineering feats, with figures like Vitruvius laying out principles of firmness, commodity, and delight. But now, a new project would push those boundaries even further. Enter Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa. Augustus's right-hand man, a brilliant general, statesman, and builder. Agrippa wasn't an architect by trade, but he had a vision for Rome's glory. He commissioned grand projects like aqueducts and baths, believing architecture could unite the empire under divine favor. And around 27 BC, Agrippa funded a temple on the Campus Martius, dedicated to all the gods. A Pantheon in Greek, meaning all gods. But the structure we know today isn't his original. That one burned down twice. First in 80 AD, and again in 110 AD. It was Emperor Hadrian, a passionate builder and traveler, who rebuilt it around 118 to 126 AD. Hadrian kept Agrippa's name on the facade as a nod to history, inscribing, Marcus Agrippa, son of Lucius, made this when consul for the 3rd time. It is hard to know for certain, but the architect was likely Apollodorus of Damascus, Hadrian's master engineer, who blended Greek elegance with Roman boldness. They had no interest in fragile timber roofs or simple rectangles. Instead, they dreamed of a space that felt cosmic, eternal, a building where heaven and earth met. So they created the Pantheon we know today, a temple that wasn't just a shrine, but a revolutionary dome enclosing the divine. Hadrian and Apollodorus' vision was audacious. They wanted to prove that architecture could capture the universe itself, a perfect, harmonious space honoring every deity, from Jupiter to Venus. To them, the future of Roman worship was inclusive, awe-inspiring, and structurally immortal. The design began with a profound question. How can a building evoke the vastness of the heavens while standing firm on earth? Their answer? A massive circular rotunda, topped by the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, fronted by a grand portico. The facade featured a pedimented porch with 8 towering Corinthian columns of gray granite, supporting a triangular pediment in a clear nod to Greek temples. These columns are not local stone. They are massive monolithic shafts of granite, quarried in Egypt, before being floated down the Nile, shipped across the Mediterranean, and dragged up the Tiber to Rome. Behind it, a rectangular vestibule led into the rotunda, creating a dramatic transition from linear to circular. Inside, the dome soared 142 feet, or 43.3 meters, high and wide. This made it a perfect hemisphere, which means that a giant hypothetical sphere could be placed in the interior space, a symbol of perfection. At its apex, a 30-foot oculus, that's 8.8 meters, an open eye, letting in light, rain, and the elements, and symbolizing the god's gaze. The walls, thick and niched with alcoves for statues, were adorned with marble veneers in geometric patterns. Recessed panels in the dome, called coffers, lightened the weight and created a starry illusion. It was a temple without corners, where space flowed eternally, blending engineering with spirituality. Stand inside, and you stand on the original Roman marble floor, which is subtly convex and riddled with small, almost invisible drainage holes. This design ensures that the rain that falls freely through the open oculus is channeled away efficiently, a testament to the Romans' focus on elegant utility. Construction began around 118 AD on the marshy site of Agrippa's original temple, requiring massive foundations sunk deep into the ground. The project's backing came from the imperial treasury, with Hadrian overseeing it as part of his vast building program across the empire. It was a statement of Roman power, not just a temple, but a triumph of technology. The Pantheon's design relied on revolutionary Roman concrete made from pozzolana volcanic ash, lime, and aggregates. This material sets underwater and grows stronger over time. Unlike modern concrete, it was poured in layers, with lighter materials like pumice used higher up in the dome to reduce weight. The walls tapered from 20 feet thick at the base to just 4 feet at the oculus. That is a wowing 6.4 meters at the base and 1.2 meters at the top. The dome itself was a technical masterpiece, cast over a wooden framework that was removed after the concrete set. Stepped rings on the exterior buttressed the structure, hidden from inside view. These elements are key to preventing the structure from collapsing outwards. Rising to about 142 feet, or 43.3 meters, it remained the largest dome in the world for over a millennium, until Brunelleschi's Florence Cathedral in the 15th century. Think of that for a moment. 43.3 meters of perfect arching concrete, standing on its own for 2 millennia, without a single piece of rebar or structural steel. The building process was a feat of ancient engineering. Workers used ramps and scaffolding to pour concrete in annular rings, embedding bricks for added strength. The oculus served as a compression ring, distributing forces evenly. Techniques like using travertine for the foundations and brick facing to protect and shape the concrete core gave the Pantheon remarkable precision and stability. Construction was labor-intensive, involving thousands of slaves and craftsmen, but the result was seamless. A dome that seems to float. For the first time, architecture achieved such a vast, unenclosed interior space, setting precedents for vaults and domes worldwide. From the outside, it blended into the urban fabric, but stepping inside was transformative. Romans called it a wonder, its dome mimicking the sky, with sunlight streaming through the oculus like a divine beam. Some revered it as sacred, others marveled at its scale, but everyone felt its power. A building that humbled and elevated the observer, both at once. By the time it was completed around 126 AD, the Pantheon stood as one of Rome's most ambitious temples. It housed statues of gods in its niches, served imperial ceremonies, and became a hub of public life. Yet, despite its grandeur, there was a serene simplicity to it. No ornate friezes or crowded reliefs inside, just harmonious proportions and light. The Pantheon wasn't about excess. It was about eternity, proving that Roman engineering could conquer gravity and time. When it was officially inaugurated, it drew awe from across the empire. Writers like Cassius Dio praised its heavenly dome, while critics, if any, were silenced by its endurance. It quickly became a symbol of Roman divinity, with emperors like Hadrian using it for state rituals. For visitors, the oculus's play of light and occasional rain added a mystical element, as if the gods themselves interacted with the space. This moving spotlight was no accident. It was a cosmic clock designed to highlight the emperor on Rome's founding day, April 21st, when the midday beam perfectly aligns with the doorway. Hadrian's experiment triumphed, at first and forever. It survived earthquakes, floods, and the fall of Rome, thanks to its robust design. The concrete self-healing properties from lime clasts that seal cracks kept it intact. Yes, you've heard that right. Self-healing concrete. Romans used a hot mixing technique, blending quick lime with volcanic ash to create intentional lime chunks in the mix. When cracks form over time, from quakes or settling, moisture seeps in, reacting with these clasts to form new crystals that fill and heal the gaps, like a built-in repair system. Modern tests have even replicated this, with cracks sealing in weeks. It's this ancient ingenuity that has kept the Pantheon standing strong for millennia. But it wasn't without challenges. In the declining empire, it fell into disrepair, stripped of bronzes by later rulers. Until in 609 AD, Emperor Phocas gifted it to Pope Boniface IV, who converted it into a Christian church. He called it Santa Maria ad Martyrs. This move saved the Pantheon from demolition. Over centuries, it weathered barbarian invasions, Renaissance spoliation, and urban changes, with parts like the portico bells removed, but later restored. Ownership shifted from emperors to popes, and it became a burial site for luminaries like Raphael and Italian kings, adding layers of history. And through it all, the dome never collapsed. Its form remains as perfect as the day it was built. In culture and history, the Pantheon became legendary. It inspired figures like Michelangelo, who called it angelic and not human design, and influenced domes from St. Peter's Basilica to the U.S. Capitol and Paris's Pantheon. It appeared in art, literature, and films, from Renaissance sketches to modern movies like Angels and Demons, where its oculus adds drama. Suddenly, Agrippa's name, preserved on the facade, echoed through millennia. For Hadrian and Apollodorus, the Pantheon was a manifesto, a physical ode to harmony, innovation, and the divine order. Hadrian once reflected on building for posterity, saying his work should endure like the stars. And in many ways, the Pantheon proved that. Architecture as a bridge between mortals and gods. It didn't reshape Rome overnight, but it seeded ideas that defined Western design. Today, nearly 2,000 years later, that vision endures. Domes crown cathedrals and capitals worldwide, all tracing back to this Roman wonder. And there in the heart of Rome, the Pantheon stands open to the sky, reminding us of when humans first built a piece of the heavens on earth. Hadrian continued his architectural legacy with projects like his villa at Tivoli, always blending beauty with bold engineering. Though Apollodorus met a tragic end, reportedly executed by Hadrian in a dispute, their collaboration gifted the world an icon. The Pantheon was their masterpiece. Proof that great architecture transcends time. And that's it for today's episode of Architecture Topics. I'm Liam Caron, and I'll see you next week with another dive into architecture, history, and the visionaries behind it. Until then, keep looking up.